Welcome into the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And it is truly a throwback because joining me here in the Lee Company studio is Chris Yao. Yay.
What's up? Hey, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you. I'm excited to have you. It's the Queen's we, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's, me and the mouse in my pocket.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, it's Throwback Thursday. We will be featuring a previous interview with Matt Brown of Extra Points. Man, that guy knows a lot.
He does, and a lot about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Folks like that kind of disgust me.
Sometimes they can get annoying. There's no doubt.
In the second hour, we will be visiting, as we have for the past few Thursdays, luckily enough, with NCAA bracketologist Jerry Palm of CBS Sports. We'll get his insight on where the field of 68 sits if the tournament were to begin right now, and what he sees as potentially impactful matchups here in the next bit. I'm thinking there's a certain game in a certain southern city on Saturday that might come up at some point. So later in this hour, we will be visiting on Coach's Corner with Volunteer State Community College men's basketball coach Johnny LYNN. And if you recognize that name, it's because he was formerly Volunteer State Community College softball coach Johnny LYNN. Interesting switch, but
he's not the only one switching sports.
Bingo.
And that's what we're going to talk about.
Good call. Yeah. And so yeah, we've got a lot that we really want to get into with former Beach standout, former Auburn basketball signee Johnny LYNN. So stay tuned for that. We're also going to be handing out some hardware in that segment as we will recognize our Custom Stone Handlers Into-Win Life Team of the Week and our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance Athlete of the Week. So stay tuned for that. Of course, at the top of the 3 o'clock hour, we will have Titan insider Terry McCormick with his daily Titans report. And a little college football, a little Major League Baseball, speaking of two sports. So we got a lot to get into, man. I'm looking forward to it. And it's good to have Chris Yao along for the ride. So let's cruise right on into.
I'm looking forward to this. Is going to be a good show, man. I'm pumped. So yeah, just sorry, I've been trying to get, we were missing one thing on the rundown, so I wanted to make sure we get it in there because it is a conference tournament bout. So I want to make sure we get it in.
Okay, now it might be one that we talked about yesterday since it was a 9 o'clock game, if it's the one I'm thinking about.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll see. Anyway, no, it was not. Never mind. Cruise on into yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Girls basketball scores from Wednesday night. These were all region championship games. And both competitors will be going on into Saturday sectional play. So, Beach defeated crosstown rival Hendersonville 52-46. It was Huntington 67, Cheatham County 60. Which was of interest to Loretto and Summertown, as Loretto defeated Summertown 44-40. So Summertown will be going to Huntington on Saturday. Cheatham County will be traveling to Loretto. Station Camp 43, Macon County 39. It was Moore County 38, Eagleville 36. Moore County's fourth win and four matchups with Eagleville. Blackman with a 41-36 win over Oakland. It was East Nashville 50, Pearl Cone 43, and Clarksville defeated Rossview 58-43. Men's basketball action last night. Auburn was disconnected.
I used that too, by the way. I saw where you said it and I put it in somebody's Facebook comments.
Did you attribute it though?
Of course, but I just got to give it to Had to give a little jab to my Auburn friends.
Tennessee 92, Auburn 84, Austin P 83, Eastern Kentucky 79, Lipscomb with a 90-74 win over Bellarmine, and Belmont goes to Murray State, gets out with an 83-61 victory. In women's basketball action, as Wade and I told you yesterday, down at the Southern States Athletic Conference tournament in Montgomery, it was Bruton Parker defeating the UT Southern Firehawk women 68-57, and in the association, host Minnesota defeated Memphis 110-101.
Girls basketball earlier today in D2 action in state semifinals play at Cookeville.
Yeah.
Knoxville Catholic knocks off Christ Presbyterian 45-40. Tomorrow, before we air, the Kings Academy will take on Good Pasture at noon. Boys action currently underway with just under 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. Briarcrest Christian leads Pope Prep 32-17. So there you go. Knoxville Webb will play Brentwood Academy in Cookeville later tonight at 5 o'clock. Hillsboro takes on Beach in Division I region finals. Both teams will advance to sectionals. Winners will host, and losers will travel. Again, Hillsboro takes on Beach. I think that's is it not at Hillsboro?
I think it is at
I
Hillsboro.
think it is too. Independence takes on Brentwood at Centennial.
That is correct.
Mount Pleasant and Cannon County down at Loretto. I'm getting good at this. Creekwood is at Chester County. Laverne and Cookeville, I don't have a clue. Portland and Hume Fogg. White House Heritage takes on Jackson County. Rossview and Dixon County tonight. That one is at Northwest. I do know that. Eagleville and Santa Fe will be at Richland. Lawrence County and Upperman at Tullahoma. And East Nashville, Whites Creek. All tonight at 7. Tomorrow, before we air at 1:30, Evangelical Christian and Providence Christian will play in a Division II semifinal.
College basketball doubleheader action today. Tennessee State travels over to Little Rock. The women are playing at 4. The men are at 8 o'clock. So split doubleheader, day-night doubleheader. I don't know.
It's a weird one.
But men's game will air on ESPNU at 8 o'clock. Also at 4:30, Trevecca is at Thomas More in doubleheader action. Men's basketball action down at Montgomery. The Firehawks of UT Southern face Thomas. That's a 6:15 tip in the
Just Thomas.
Thomas.
Like he's by himself.
He must be pretty good.
He got to the quarterfinals.
Right in the Southern States Athletic Conference quarterfinal down there. Women's basketball action this evening. 5:30 tip for Lipscomb at Bellarmine. At 6, Austin P is at Eastern Kentucky. Also at 6, but on the SEC network, Texas A&M is at Food City Center at Thompson Bowling Arena taking on the Lady Vols. And at 7, Vanderbilt makes the trip out to Como taking on the Tigers. On the ice, if 6 is good, 7 is better, right?
We'll find out. Maybe.
The Predators hosting former Preds coach John Hines in the Minnesota Wild. That's a 7 o'clock.
He got him last time.
Well, all the more reason to get him back. 7 o'clock puck drop that can be seen on Bally Sports South and BWIX.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either, but you can see it there. That is your rundown. Top story brought to you as always by Piggly Wiggly at Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and get through there for your delicious daily deli lunch options, as well as hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. So again, Piggly Wiggly, the big pig out at Neely's Mill here in Columbia, bringing you our top story. And as we referenced in the rundown, Dalton connected for 27 second half points, and the Vols needed every one of them. I didn't get to see it, unfortunately. I was a little busy, but I looked up and it was a 4-point game, and then I looked up and it was a 6-point game, and I'm like, well, this is going to be a close ball game. These are two really good ball clubs, so just going to have to ride with it. And then you looked up again, and Auburn was up 4, and it's like, oh God, here we go.
Yep, that's exactly what I felt like.
And next thing you know, it's like Tennessee 84-80 and Tennessee 87-80 and Tennessee 92-84 behind 39 from Dalton Connect, matching a season and as a ball career high. So this guy, you got to watch.
I did, and it just
it sounds like it was a treat.
Well, the first half was one of those games where the officials were not going to let it get into a rhythm. Both teams wanted to play physical, and the officials were not going to allow.
Nay.
And so, after both teams kind of adjusted a little bit, it's a little annoying that Tennessee's defense lacks the ability to hold opponents under 30 points in the first half like they have been able to do. But part of the reason for that is because Rick Barnes has allowed the team to play more loose on offense and shoot within the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. And so there are
there's
more
possessions.
And so you kind of get frustrated going, gosh, this defense just doesn't seem like it's as good as it has been. And then you realize, but the offense is so much better that it really doesn't matter. So I'll take the offense because obviously that's what's lacked in NCAA tournament games and games against ranked opponents like Auburn. Auburn comes in. Bruce Pearl is never going to be afraid to bring his teams into Thompson-Boling Arena. His teams are going to be ready to play. He understands how to prepare them for the atmosphere, and that's one of the things that is a positive for Auburn when they come into TBA. And you could see it from the beginning. Now, Tennessee controlled the first half, although it was a 4-point game at halftime, but Auburn coming out in the second half, they made great adjustments, and Dalton Connect sat the bench for a little while, and next thing you know, he was fresh. And just did what Dalton Connect does. And if last night didn't end the SEC Player of the Year award debate, I don't know what will.
Debate?
There was a little debate.
There's a debate?
Marcus Sears, the kid from the Sears from Alabama, and then the kid from Kentucky. They've been in that conversation, but I don't think at this point there is no more debate. You can't tell me. I
guess I just didn't realize there was a debate.
There is, and whatever. I mean, I think Dalton Connect should be in the conversation for National Player of the Year.
And so, friend of the show by proxy, Jordan Moore, and I'm hoping I can find this tweet fairly quickly.
Oh yeah, he's the stat master.
Yeah, well, it's not just stats, it's more like analytics, which I typically don't get into unless they are favoring somebody I like. Jordan Moore, at Jordan Moore _21. One is a 3-level scorer, one is a 7'4" post that is shooting 9 of 36, that's 25%. From 11 plus feet away from the basket for his career. One gets 21.2% of his points from the free throw line. One gets 32.3% of his points from the free throw line. Dalton Connect is the better, more skilled basketball player. Now, I think that there is a lot of stagger for Dalton Connect to eat up in track parlance when you discuss National Player of the Year, because Zach Edey of Purdue has been that, or has been considered to be that, from the preseason, probably from the end of last season. So while at that point Dalton Connect was still in Northern Colorado. So I don't know if it's realistic to entertain the conversation of Dalton Connect for National Player of the Year, and it's unfortunate if it's not. But again, I just think Zach Edey has had such a run up that he's going to be tough to knock off.
Okay.
But I mean,
It doesn't make it right.
No, it does not make it right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you know, what do they say? Men lie, women lie, stats don't lie. I mean,
I don't know. They also say lies,
and damn statistics. Yeah.
So I mean,
well,
whichever one fits your message
there you
today
go.
works.
Yeah, lies, damned lies, and statistics. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So
Today,
pick one.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're talking about points, then and you know, and scoring, then we're going to go with Dalton Connect. If we're talking about rebounds and assists, but yeah, I think Zach Edey's a really good basketball player. I think Zach Edey is a probably the best big man we've seen since Duncan. I would think. I don't know if there's been another big man who's been quite as good as he has. Since Tim Duncan at Wake Forest. But the difference to me is that, you know, Dalton Connect, again, has elevated Tennessee to a different level.
I think player for player, I think Dalton Connect is the more dynamic ball player.
If I'm creating a college basketball team and I get first pick, I'm taking Connect over Edey. I might take Hunter Dickinson over all of them. But
I think I'm taking Hunter Dickinson over Edey.
yeah, so I mean,
I don't know that I'm necessarily taking him over
only,
Connect, but yeah.
I've only got those two. If I've got those two to choose from, if that's the choice I've got, then I'm taking Connect over Edey. Dickinson's close. But yeah, I think what we've seen out of, for me, what we've seen out of Dalton Connect, particularly in SEC play after getting kind of baptized by fire in that preseason tournament against Kansas and Purdue, and you know he
as did the team.
He got a well, and a lot of people don't realize the effect of Zakai Ziegler not being 100% in that tournament. You know, Zakai was still ginger.
Yeah,
that tournament.
still didn't really know what that knee was about.
And you know, you play that tournament now. I think it
Wasn't supposed to be back.
wasn't even supposed to be playing.
Yeah.
And so you put that tournament together now, and I think there's, you know, a different result.
Well, you better hope it's a different result, because everything is pointing to a Purdue UT NCAA tournament matchup,
Yeah,
probably
in the
with a
Elite Eight.
Final Four spot on the line. And
Well, we'll
you
talk
know,
about that later.
oh, we absolutely will talk about that later with bracketologist and Purdue grad Jerry Palm. You know, again, BVS is real. We talk about it on this show all the time. I just do not see Purdue anywhere. So,
At any point, absolutely.
yeah. We need to take a break. When we come back to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It's time for Coach's Corner with Volunteer State Community College men's basketball coach Johnny LYNN. Stay with us. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products.
Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Your favorite wine tasting experience is back. The Hendersonville Rotary Club's Wine and Roses Fundraising Gala. Everything you loved and more. Saturday, March the 2nd. Prepare your taste buds for elegant wines, smooth whiskeys, craft beers, and exceptional food. Browse through the silent auction, all to benefit over 25 local charities, schools, and scholarships. Wine and Roses, Saturday, March the 2nd at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, Hendersonville. HendersonvilleRotary.org.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Chris Yao, I'm Maurice Patton, and we are throwing it back here on Coach's Corner to somebody that I've known, good God.
Don't say the years. Somebody might get mad.
No. It's been a long time, man. Me and Johnny go way back, and really excited to have Volunteer State men's basketball coach Johnny LYNN joining us here on Coach's Corner. Johnny, the first time we have people on, we really take note of their backdrops on these video calls, and I'm digging the Auburn jersey
and
there.
Great number. That 14.
Enlighten me.
Chris Yao 14.
Oh, yeah.
That was my number growing up. I love that number.
That was purely accidental.
Yeah.
Johnny, good afternoon. You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
We can't hear you, Johnny.
Can we unmute him? There he is.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
no.
Nope.
He's not muted.
He's not muted?
No, I don't know why we can't hear him.
Oh.
That's no good.
We can't hear you, Johnny. That's not good. Uh-oh. When he starts shaking his head like that, that's not a good sign.
Where's the tech guy?
Oh, hang on. All right.
All right, we'll go full screen and listen, I guess. Yep. Come back to us. Let's give out some hardware real quick.
Okay, yeah, let's do that while we wait on Johnny to come back. We want to go team first?
Yeah,
or
let's
athlete
go.
first? Team first. The Into Win Life Team of the Week, sponsored by Custom Stone Handlers. The Summit Spartans wrestling team took 5 wrestlers into the state finals in Class AA Saturday night up at the Williamson County Ag Expo. 3 champions, 2 runners-up. I think they had a total of 10 medalists between their boys and their girls out of 11 wrestlers that they took.
Great job.
And the boys team finished second in the team competition behind every year champion Cleveland. I think it's their 7th straight.
There you go.
So, but
Congrats to Pete Miller. Congrats to Pete Miller and Summit.
Congrats to Pete Miller and Summit, Cleveland graduate Pete Miller. But, I mean, one thing's for sure, he knows what it looks like, right?
One day.
Absolutely. I don't think he's going to stop until he gets there either. So get rich or die trying.
Exactly.
Yeah. And our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week, speaking of Summit, Jarvis Little pinned his way through the state tournament this past weekend. 4 matches, 4 pins. And this is a guy who typically doesn't. Exactly.
Leave no doubt.
And typically, this is a guy who does not pin a lot.
Wow.
He's more of a technician. Now, he'll tech fall you to death, but he typically doesn't pin. Well, he pinned Friday night and Saturday. So the Appalachian State signee leaves Summit as its first ever state champion and its first 3-time state champion.
How about that?
Because once he won it as a sophomore, it got good to him.
Yeah, he didn't want to not win it. So
Exactly. So Jarvis Little is our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week this week. Congratulations to him and to the Summit Wrestling team. And it looks like
try again.
Swinging again here. It's well. Johnny Lynn. Hello. Nope.
Still nothing.
Nope.
And everybody's just like, I don't know.
Nope, we don't know.
And we don't know. It does happen. Tell you what, leave him. Let's try to bring him in, maybe audio only, just so we can continue to hear. And we'll go this way right here. Just keep trying, Johnny, and if we hear you, we'll stop talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And bring you up.
But in the meantime, it's kind of funny how we come about our guests. We'll see something on Twitter or we'll hear something or there will be some sort of a development and we'll think, hey, we should try to get him or her. We saw a tweet earlier this week regarding a former area high school athlete who signed collegiately in one sport and is now, there's rumblings about returning home and playing another sport at Ball State. And
Maurice.
Hey, there he is.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Johnny.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Finally, it's good to hear your voice for more than one reason. All of a sudden,
I ain't even screaming or nothing.
Yep. Well,
Yet.
yeah, exactly. I'm sure that will be the case. Johnny, appreciate your diligence in getting on with us, first of all. But we were just talking. You have become an attractive option for some guys who thought they were football players, it seems like.
We got lucky. We got a young man, and he got a couple of injuries, and he is about 25 minutes away. And Taylor Groves, and I contacted him, and he's very interested. Matter of fact, we've got him in a class, and he's practicing with us, making us a little better, and he's getting in that basketball shape again.
Okay. Well, when he gets in basketball shape, it's going to be something to see, I would imagine. Now, he's not your first football to basketball guy either, is he? You got another kid from your high school alma mater as well, right?
Correct. Andrew Page. I mean, he kind of in the same boat, except, I mean, he loved basketball. And actually, we got Andrew Page from Beach, who I think originally went to Vandy, then ended up at MTSU. Mm-hmm. And then we got little 5'10" Willie Wilson, who went to UTC as a wideout from East Lit. And I mean, so we'll have 3 football players playing.
Physicality won't be an issue for your team, will it?
No. No, I mean, the league is a strong league. It's kind of shocking how strong it is, and you got to get some men out there, because if not, they're going to push you around.
Yeah. You know, we see a little bit of Columbia State, not as much as we'd like, probably not as much as they'd like, but yeah, you're right. It is definitely a man's league, and you kind of got to go big or go home.
Exactly.
What's this first year been like for you as a coach, Johnny? I mean, obviously you come from quite the basketball background, but your last 20 years of coaching has been with softball.
30 years. We're getting old. I mean, no, it's been an adjustment. I mean, like I tell people, the mentality, you got to have a strong mentality to make it. I mean, you got to, and then the hard work. And like I told somebody, working hard nowadays, they think they're working hard, but working hard to me is probably two different things. And we got to get some in here that understand what I classify as working hard.
That's, you know, and that does, when you talk about, you know, folks of from a certain generation, and now it's a little bit different. How do you adjust a little bit to what they expect from a coach? Because obviously, you know, it's been a while.
Yeah, and you got to make them feel wanted. I mean, you got to pat some, but I mean, you got to stress the hard work, but they got to respect you too. And you can't always, like early on, you can say old school. Well, our old school coaches, they never complimented. Now you can get on them, but you better be the first to give them some compliments, and then they'll respond to you.
That's a very good point. One of the things that I've heard, and I know you've heard it too, Johnny, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so, you know, when you pat them on the back a little bit, it makes that tearing down a little easier when you've already built them up a little bit. But you know, as you made the transition from softball to men's basketball, we talked about this league. The tournament starts up next week, I think, down at Motlow. And the schedule has not been kind to the Pioneers.
No, when I got here, that schedule was done, and we played some really good. That schedule was probably one of the toughest in the conference. I mean, we played, I think, one game of a June as a JV team. One game, where other teams have played like 8 JV games, 9 JV games. We played one JV, and we played the best. Wallace State, Hansville, Calhoun. Then we went to Northeast Mississippi. So not only in Tennessee are we getting Walters, we went to the best in Alabama, the best in Mississippi. It's been tough, and our kids, I'm telling you, they work hard. Our depth, we don't have a great depth. We got some good players, but in basketball, if the other team's got 12 or 13, or say Columbia State, who's going to throw about 18 at you, it wears them legs down, and the first thing to go on them legs goes that shot. So, I mean, I'm proud of the way they practice every day. You wouldn't know what their record was. We go into every game. We play everybody pretty close. I mean, the first half, we might be leading a lot. But, I mean, the legs, it wears on them. And then this late in the year, you got to make sure they're taking care of themselves. But it's been an adjustment on the numbers. It's hard to play 7 and 8 players in basketball anymore in JUCO because of the speed. I mean, it's an up and down league, which y'all know. And if you ain't got numbers, man, it's tough.
Coach, before we get you out of here, talk a little bit about Quan Tucker. Leads the league right now in points per game and is in the top 5 in rebounds per game. He certainly is, it is worth the price of admission for your club.
Yeah, Quan, he's an exceptional player. He brings it every day, and he can score from anywhere on the court. When he crosses half court, you don't know if he's going to shoot it, take off. No, you don't know, and you just sit back and watch. And if he had a negative, the negative it is when we go through a stretch and an 8-point run, now he takes it upon himself that he's going to get it back. And that shows how much he really cares. And that's good sometimes, that's bad sometimes, but he is an exceptional player. And, I mean, he can play at a lot of different levels. He's 6'7". I mean, he can jump, he can play the 3. He can do a lot.
I know he's been a bright spot for you guys, and hopefully we'll see him get a chance at the next level at some place. And obviously with the conference tournament coming up, it's going to be once the conference tournament or region tournament, I guess.
Both.
Yeah.
It's the state/region 7.
Yeah.
But once you're there, anything can happen, and it doesn't matter.
Anything can happen, and we've seen it. Anything can happen. I mean, you will see somebody come out of this state tournament and go to Hutch that you wouldn't have thought going into this tournament. So maybe it'll be the Pioneers.
It's madness, baby.
Who knows? We'll get after it.
Oh, without question. Johnny LYNN, men's basketball coach at Volunteer State, joining us here on Coach's Corner. And Coach, we appreciate it. And good luck to y'all next weekend.
Thank you, Maurice. Thank you, Chris.
We'll talk to you. When we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is Throwback Thursday. We're going to go back to a conversation that I guess you and I had.
No.
Was it me and Wade?
Yep. I wasn't here for this one. So
it starts to run together.
I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah. It was fun. With Matt Brown of Extra Point. So stay with us here in the Lee Company studios. We'll be right back.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Your favorite wine tasting experience is back. The Hendersonville Rotary Club's Wine and Roses Fundraising Gala. Everything you loved and more. Saturday, March the 2nd. Prepare your taste buds for elegant wines, smooth whiskeys, craft beers, and exceptional food. Browse through the silent auction, all to benefit over 25 local charities, schools, and scholarships. Wine and Roses, Saturday, March the 2nd at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, Hendersonville. HendersonvilleRotary.org.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hey, welcome back to the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And let's take you to an interview that Wade and I did last week with Matt Brown of Extra Points. From the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, it is the weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, joined by Wade Neely, and now also joined by Matt Brown of Extra Points. Matt, good afternoon.
Hey there. Thanks for having me on today.
No, man, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. When we had talked about bringing you on, it was in the aftermath of the news that Florida State may actually be able to buy their way out of the Atlantic Coast Conference, and we're going to get to that. But as has often been the case, there's never a dull moment in sports business these days.
No, I've made that joke with my wife several times. Like, remember off seasons? I feel like we had off seasons a little bit when I first started on this beat, and that has those days have been gone for at least the last 4 years.
And I don't know that they're ever going to return.
Probably not.
Yeah. We do want to talk, though, about that situation with Florida State and the Atlantic Coast Conference. But I just want to say, if you have any interest in sports business and you are not following / subscribing to extrapointsmb.com, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I got on here, and there is an article that I've got to get into about what a director of basketball operations does. And I'll be honest with you, that's a title that I've always been fascinated by. So I'm looking forward to digging into that article here at some point over the weekend. And I wouldn't have thought that men's basketball, Dobos, and women's would be different, but apparently there is a difference.
There are a couple of them. You know, I think what was interesting about the conversation that I had there, it's with a woman who's done both, which is a little bit unusual in Division I college basketball, to have somebody who briefly was the Dobo of a men's and women's program, and then just women's, and then kind of switched to men's, particularly at a program like Northeastern, which is where the folks worked that I spoke to, because that's a program that on the men's side is trying to play for NCAA tournament seeding, and it's going to be playing maybe not a national schedule, but playing ACC teams, playing Big East teams, and playing up and recruiting up in a way that might be different from the women's side. So if you're interested in like the behind the scenes things, Dobos are the kind of folks that do basically everything that the coaches don't do, which is everything from getting everybody fed to figuring out what hotel conference room we're going to use for team meetings, to serving as the team therapist, which is not a joke, to doing some kind of secret behind the scenes coaching. Like these are the people that when it's the dog days of February are have a big role in keeping your team culture together. And that's, that's when we try to take an expansive view of what we write about on Extra Points. Most people just want to talk about the video game today, and I imagine we'll talk about the video game here in a second, but that's only a portion of the kind of things that I do here between lawsuits, labor, video games, and also interviewing Dobos.
Dobos are kind of the walking example of other duties as assigned, right?
I think that was almost exactly what was put in the story, right? This is the 2 paragraphs of what your job description is, and here's the 6 pages of what you actually do. And Lord knows that's true, and for football staffs as well, for analysts or recruiting staffers, or nowadays I think you have people that are like director of player personnel, which is a kind of a shadow general manager, which ends up doing a whole lot more than what appears just in that job description. But that, that's part of working in college sports for you too. Even if you're not on the coaching side, you're doing a whole lot more than what your LinkedIn profile says you do.
Absolutely, Matt. And I've worked in very small college basketball and seen some of the hours and crazy assignments that those guys, those men and women put in. I guess I'm curious, we kind of are focusing on the mid-major realm. Is it fair to say as you ascend up the ladder into, your very high major programs, that Dobo almost kind of turns into like a corporate executive type role, or what are the assignments? How do those change as you ascend the ladder, I suppose?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And, on some level, if you are somebody who's the Dobo at a place like Tennessee or Ohio State or Alabama, in some ways, that is a job that you might take if your goal is to be a Division I basketball coach. There are several coaches who their early jobs were in that position, but it's also a position you could take if you want to work in athletic administration. Mm-hmm. I tell people, like, and again, this is not just specific to high or mid-major college basketball, but if you can handle operations on a team level, you can handle sport administration. You can handle most everything that doesn't require a law degree. Within the athletics department, right? And so some people want to stay in that role because they like having very personal relationships with athletes. And that's something that, as I understand it, is part of the role, whether you're at Austin P or Tennessee. But maybe some of the negotiations you're doing with hotels or what you're doing with equipment managers or some of the other things, that's a little bit different, the more resourced institution that you are.
There we go. Matt Brown of Extra Points. Again, you can follow him at Matt Brown EP on X. His website is extrapointsmb.com. Be sure and check it out. Matt, Florida State, what is the number going to be? Do we have a feel for what the number is going to be? Is this just a matter of negotiating at this point, now that it seems that there is a check that can be written for them to get out of the ACC?
I think that's pretty much always been the case. Whenever you have a contractual dispute like this, it's always a question. I mean, the contract can say one thing, right? And you go to the courts and you talk about it, but these are always fundamentally negotiations. I don't think we're especially close to knowing what that number is, because for Florida State, how you pay that check is very different if the number is 112 million versus 400 million. If the number is, under 200-ish and change, which is a nominal amount then for your grant of rights and the majority of the ACC exit fee, that's the kind of money that you can raise by selling bonds, by you're reaching out to traditional state investment vehicles, the same way that you would to raise money to build a stadium. And then that is a transition that I think could happen relatively quickly. None of this is amount of money that you can pick up in private fundraising. Florida State, and this is no disrespect, and this is true for, I think, anybody in the ACC, nobody has people that can write $300 million in personal checks. Texas couldn't even do that. The question is, what if the number turns out to need to be above 300 million? And that's when you start looking at, all right, maybe that's when we have to have those private equity conversations. Maybe that's when we have to look at fundraising vehicles that are more exotic than just selling bonds or going to First National Bank of Tallahassee and borrowing $125 million at 4.5%. Those questions aren't answered. And I don't think they're going to become more clear for several months, because we are talking about a flavor of litigation and some complexity in public financing that is not something you can kind of bang out in a Holiday Inn conference center in 48 hours. There's a lot of billable hours that are going to have to get paid before this situation is resolved.
Isn't, though, the bigger question, Matt, once they leave the Atlantic Coast Conference, where are they going?
That is also a great question. And I honestly, from talking to people around the ACC, I'm not sure that's even the principal objective here at the moment, right? Because it doesn't matter if the Big Ten or SEC want you if you don't have a financial path to exit yourselves. And this litigation and this negotiation could theoretically take so long, working its way through courts and appeals and counter appeals, that the entity that Florida State eventually joins is not the ACC, the Big Ten, or the SEC. Maybe it's College Football Champion Leagues B. Maybe it's the college football playoff, secondary tier presenting here, right? I don't think a lot of people appreciate just how in flux so many cornerstone assumptions and institutions are in college athletics. And that's because of employment. That's because of House v. NCAA, these other gigantic court cases that are working its way through the system here. I think it is probable that once Florida State leaves the ACC, it would attempt to join one of the other two conferences. But I think there's enough uncertainty that you could very credibly see a world where the next thing they join isn't a conference at all, or some completely different kind of confederation, because Division I, as we know it, and maybe in 2026, maybe that doesn't exist anymore. That's not a Reddit pipe dream. That's a thing that could really happen.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many people realize just how close we are to, there not being a Southeastern Conference or a Big Ten or whatever else it is.
I wouldn't say that is necessarily the most likely scenario, but it is unquestionably a scenario that exists, or at the very least that there won't be SEC or Big Ten football, right? Maybe that doesn't exist, but SEC softball and other configurations do. We don't know. And the frustrating and scary thing, I think, for people that work in college sports is that fundamentally college sports leaders aren't that in charge. They're not going to be the ones that get to pick who's an employee and who isn't. Or whether they're going to be liable for millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in antitrust fees. That's a court question. And on some level, it's a Congress question, not a Greg Sankey question.
And Matt, what you just said, that we may not have Big Ten or SEC football, but we may have SEC softball, SEC volleyball, that kind of thing. It's such a paradigm shift, disconnecting those programs or taking programs in particular sports rather than taking an institution's programs as a whole. That's just such a shock to the system to hear and to try to imagine, I guess.
I think it's time to think really expansively. And part of the reason for that, I'll try to walk everyone through it real quick, is really centered on what happens to this entire model in an employment system. I suspect many people listening to this, or who will listen to this later, would probably concede that the experience of an Alabama or a Tennessee football player is not dissimilar from that of an NFL athlete in terms of the obligations that are put upon you, in terms of the structure, and also the revenue that's generated by this operation that you do not see. So, it may not be 100% popular, but it's way more popular or feasible to kind of wrap your head around that for an SEC football player or a Big Ten football player in 2024. But I also think most people who are not in the industry would say, well, that shouldn't be true for a volleyball player. That shouldn't be true for a college baseball player or a softball player, because they're not generating the thrust of the billion-dollar television revenues, which is true. Mm-hmm. But very recently, the National Labor Relations Board, their regional office, ruled that Dartmouth men's basketball players should be considered employees and eligible to unionize. And I don't say this to be disrespectful, but Dartmouth men's basketball absolutely sucks. Like this is a team that's going to be outdrawn by a average, not even good, average Nashville high school basketball game. or right, we're talking 500 people in the gym for Dartmouth. We're talking, way sub 300 KenPom, haven't made March Madness since the 50s, right? There's no big revenue coming in here. These cats aren't even on scholarship. And the judge says none of that matters. It doesn't matter if you're profitable. It doesn't matter what revenue you bring in. What matters is if you are controlled and treated like an employee. And if that's true for Dartmouth men's basketball, then that is true for everybody at Austin Peay. That's true for everybody in the SEC across every single sport. That's true for everybody in United football, in FCS football. That's true for WAC volleyball, for everything. And arguably even true for many Division II and Division III programs. Tennessee can probably afford it. They will complain bitterly, and a lot of contracts will have to get renegotiated, and some people will lose their jobs, but Tennessee could afford that system. But most people can't, right? If Austin Peay's operation costs suddenly go up $16 million, there's no Austin Peay sports. Forget Austin Peay football or basketball. Like the school can't function in that environment. And that is the catalyst that I think changes how we have to evaluate everything, because that changes who is a Division I institution or what Division I even means. It changes, how do we find new revenue to pay for potentially 15, 20, 25 million or more in operational expenses for having to pay people, to say nothing of sharing other revenues. And that's when you start to look at, okay, maybe all that kind of Twitter sports radio talk about a Champions League or about some other kind of subdivisions here, then it begins to look less silly. And this is not just one radical judge in Massachusetts, friends. Like, this is also part of Johnson v. NCAA, which is in federal district court in Pennsylvania. And there are conservative Republican appointed judges who have looked at the NCAA's argument and said, actually, sure sounds like Villanova football players should be employees, not well compensated employees, because Villanova football doesn't make any money, but that doesn't make you less of an employee. Just like I would still be a professional reporter if I worked for a newspaper that was losing money. That doesn't mean I'm an amateur reporter anymore. It just means that the people who own my companies are stupid. And that's what's happening here, potentially, with far more college sports programs than just big time football and men's basketball.
Matt Brown of Extra Points joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And Matt, all of that kind of plays a little bit into this week's biggest news regarding EA Sports being back in the game. Is that?
Yeah, that's a huge story. And it's a huge story for a lot of people like me. If you're somewhere between your late 20s to early 40s, and I'm somewhere in between that group, the old college football games were like a foundational part of your high school and middle school and college experience. I didn't go to grad school in part because my GPA wasn't so hot, because I spent a lot of time playing college football on the PlayStation 2, right? I'm seeing you nod, Will. Other people I'm sure listening had that same experience. So there's a big nostalgia factor for this coming back. But this is also the biggest NIL deal any corporation has done, at least in any memory of any analyst I've spoken to the past couple of weeks. EA spending well north of $7 million to pay money to 85 football players on all 134 teams. It's also potentially a big labor issue story, as athletes may use this to potentially negotiate for better contracts, because in many ways this is a worse contract than what exists in other professional sports. And it's a big marketing deal for universities. Like it's a big story in so many different angles here for sports business, besides just excitement about being able to play this game again with real players in just a couple of months.
And Matt, with the way you kind of framed that up, to me, video games have been in the news, at the national level for a lot of wrong reasons prior, but it seems like this is a totally different conversation. We're not talking Grand Theft Auto. We're talking kind of a labor situation here. And to me, yes, the nostalgia factor is going to be off the charts. But I'm like you, I'm very fascinated, and I love the way that you kind of had framed your lead story here. Not really just a video game story. It's a business story, a labor story, and kind of an emotional story all rolled into one. And you surmised it eloquently there when you say this thing is multifaceted. There's going to be some folks, I think, that just want to get their hands on the game and play it and have no regard for anything else behind the scenes. But there's a lot of other stuff that's going into this, truly behind the scenes.
Like, unquestionably. And that's, that's the basis of my publication, right? If you're somebody who's like, the only thing I care about for college sports is who's playing quarterback for Tennessee, who's playing quarterback for Vandy, what recruits go one way or another, and what the spread is, and I don't want to think about anything else. I understand that. That's great. My publication is not for you. And that's okay. There's lots of other people who can serve that particular need of yours. And you shouldn't apologize for being that kind of a fan. But if you work in this world, or you're curious about this world, or you want to understand how these things fit together, which shapes who is good and who is not at other sports, that's the work that I do, right? And so for this video game, beyond, and I've done a lot of reporting on this video game, some of that reporting is going to be, hey, this is what Dynasty mode looks like, right? Here's how this game's going to look on your PlayStation 5. Here's who's in, here's who's not. That's part of the deal too. But also what this means for athletic department marketing departments, what this means for the logistics of expanding group licensing for college athletes, and what that might mean for future video game products or trading cards or other kinds of IP. What this means for student enrollment, what this means for athlete organization. There's an awful lot. I think you could probably write about this thing once a week until the game comes out, and still have plenty of reporting meat on the bone. And I have a couple of stories I've started working on this week that I hope to share maybe next week or a little bit after, about some of the other business implications of what's happening here beyond just consumers and electronic arts.
Absolutely. And seeing quite a flurry on social media of schools, hey, we're going to be in the game, which I think is a cheap but brilliant kind of way to get a little free marketing mileage for those departments. I'm curious, any talk of teams that are not going to, and I guess what would be the ramifications if they decided not to opt in for whatever reason?
Yeah, everybody in FBS is going to be in the game, or every team in FBS is going to be in the game. They've already submitted their paperwork. I think there's a super final licensing term sheet that still has to be signed by everyone, but those conversations and stalling and haggling, that happened over the last year. Everyone's going to be in it. There's been some social media confusion about whether other people are going to be in it, and I can tell you, as I've reported several times, that at launch, FCS teams will not, even though most of them would crawl over broken glass to be in this game, regardless of the licensing money, because of the exposure that it brings. A lot of other smaller schools have had some fun with this. There's been Division III schools that have tweeted pictures of them in the game. They're not going to be in the game. They're just taking advantage of the social media stuff. I tweeted a picture of me with Feinbaum and a FOIA request on the cover of a game. Look, I'm in the game. I'm not in the game yet. We're having fun on the internet, right? The people that are going to be in this game are athletes currently on FBS rosters, or who will be by April, and FBS teams. So you do not have to worry about, Fresno State being replaced by, California Mountain Tech or something, that they're going to be in the game.
And I guess one other kind of potential trivial question, but who's on the cover of this thing? Because, for so long it had to be someone that had been removed from college football because of the situation regarding labor and NIL before. And I guess kind of where do they go with that potentially? Because that's obviously a huge talking point.
It's a huge one. And that is a question. And that is information that EA is keeping under lock and key at the moment, despite me very politely asking otherwise. I don't think most people at the company even know at that point. And I would go so far as to say it's not even certain that there's going to be one cover. In fact, I think I can break news here. There's going to be more than one cover because there's more than one version of the game. As is the case for modern AAA video games now. And also, I can't verify that the cover athlete is going to be an athlete at all. It could be a current athlete. They could use someone that recently departed or recently left college sports, as they've done in the past. One idea that I know has been discussed internally is to, have lots of former Heisman winners, all the guys that might have been in the game that weren't over the last decade. That's been at least discussed. You could put a coach on it. Some years there's been a mascot. I don't want to speculate too much because I don't know, but I've seen those conversations internally. It could be a lot of different choices. It's not just going to be who's the most famous dude on Colorado that we could put in this game to try to sell some more copies. It's more complicated than that.
Could they even go with regional covers, Matt?
I mean, they did that before. They did that in 2009, 2010. I mean, part of the mystique of regional covers is diminished a little bit because most people are not buying physical copies of the game anymore. It's usually downloaded, and you don't really interface with the cover of the game as much as you did. And that cover exists in the IP of the game. They've done that, and I think in 2009, 2010, sometimes there's a different cover athlete depending on the platform you're using. I can't verify or confirm any of that right now. So like, I will leave that conversation to sports radio. When I know for certain, I will be happy to share it.
You know, you mentioned, Matt, that FCS programs will not be in the game, and that was something that I was going to mention. Do you, I guess the line has to be drawn somewhere just from a monetary standpoint, but do you see a scenario where at some point maybe they are?
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, I know that some FCS schools have had conversations about it with EA and with those licensing agents. I don't know if sometime in the future is by next year or as a downloadable content patch later in the year for this particular game, or in 3 years. That I don't know. But you're right. Money is a big part of it. Time is a big part of it, and also disk space. Right. I had one developer tell me that if you added every FCS team in the game, when you factor in the size of the rosters, and then you need their stadium files and their fight songs and their logos and their uniforms and their rivalries, all of that stuff, you're talking about nearly doubling the physical size of the game, which is something that you can look into doing when it's the second or third or fourth year of the franchise. When you're building everything from the ground up, something's got to go. And FCS teams are one of those things. Coach likeness is one of those things. You will not see digital Lane Kiffin on the sidelines of this game. They won't. The real coaches will not be in there. And there may be
the
some
good
other
thing
things
about that is you won't see digital golf balls either, right?
That I can't confirm. I mean, it would be kind of nice if it's, press Y to throw mustard, right? Like if you wanted to be in the game, that's something you could do. Maybe Ole Miss wouldn't be so crazy about their licensing being used for that. But
hey, Matt, real quick, a question also, as we're reading here, roughly $600 for use of name, image, and likeness in the video game. Given the shift of gaming in general is kind of transition, we see so many in-game transactions, especially with companies like EA Sports. Is that on the table too for a potential slice of the pie for players in addition to that base contract? Are they eligible for future, I guess, royalties in a sense in that regard?
Yeah. So I'll have to bounce after this. I do have to go pick up my girls from school, but I will say I asked directly about that. In this current contract, the answer is no. And the biggest reason for it is that EA doesn't really have a financial understanding or projection or sense of how big the microtransaction market is going to be for this game. And for that matter, this is something I get pushed back a lot from fans, but not from financial professionals. Nobody really knows how commercially successful this game is going to be. There's no way in hell it's going to outsell the Madden franchise, which is what fans tell me when I'm in college football heavy markets. The last time this game was out, Madden's outsold it about 4-1. And this time around, like now that there's microtransaction revenue, I'm told that EA is projecting similar revenue disparities. And we haven't really had a college football game in the microtransaction era. So maybe you only sell 1/4 of the copies of the actual game, but you sell a lot more microtransactions when you revisit the deal. The thing is, we don't know because the market for that has not been established yet. That will be for future deals, as will the adjustments of the $600. I hate to bounce, gentlemen. No, thanks so much for having me here,
man.
It's
we
been
appreciate
a pleasure.
You staying as long as you did. Matt Brown of Extra Points again.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Your favorite wine tasting experience is back. The Hendersonville Rotary Club's Wine and Roses Fundraising Gala. Everything you loved and more. Saturday, March the 2nd. Prepare your taste buds for elegant wines, smooth whiskeys, craft beers, and exceptional food. Browse through the silent auction, all to benefit over 25 local charities, schools, and scholarships. Wine and Roses, Saturday, March the 2nd at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, Hendersonville. HendersonvilleRotary.org.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
A segment with Matt Brown, and man, I love listening to him.
He is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Gonna keep the party rolling here with our slightly less than top of the hour Titans report with Titans insider Terry McCormick. Terry. That music can only mean one thing, right?
By God, that's Terry McCormick's music.
There we go. There we go.
How are you guys?
Hey, how are you, man? Tell us where you've been and what you've been doing.
Well, I have been at the groundbreaking for the new Nissan Stadium, and as proof of that, they handed out a mini shovel as part of the process. And I thought that was appropriate since I come on here on a daily basis and shovel a lot of things to you guys.
Yeah, that's pretty unique. I'm glad that they did that. We've got a little video of the groundbreaking, courtesy of Wade Neely.
At Nissan Stadium.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, you guys were giving me a little bit of a freak out moment here because I could have swore I saw Wade here and he was here, but then I saw the interview that was previously taped that you were doing with the EA Sports guy. And
yeah,
I was like, is Wade running around doing things that I don't know? Is he a twin or something?
We have cloned Wade. There are multiple Wades. There are more than two Wade Neelys. No. What was the excitement level down there for the groundbreaking, Terry? I mean, obviously this is a step in the right direction for a lot of folks.
Yeah, it's very, lots of dignitaries on hand, Governor Bill Lee, Mayor Freddie O'Connell, Titans officials speaking, including Amy Adams Strunk, Bert Nahill, and Adolfo Birch. I think, everybody very excited as to where this is going to. And at the end, it was Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood taking the stage. So, and Garth got off the line of the day when he said that he goes, I may not be like everybody else. He said, I see this as a world-class concert venue where they're going to occasionally play some pro football.
That's about right.
And I guess it's all about perspective, right?
Yeah. He's just thinking about how many world records he can break.
Yeah, how many dates he can get in there. Yeah,
exactly.
They're not going to play football all the time.
That's right.
Governor Lee also got off a good line when he was talking about going to a concert at the new stadium, and he kind of looked at Garth and said there won't be any concerts in the rain here that will hold up things.
There's that. So I mean, as long as the roof doesn't leak, we're good. So yeah.
Exactly. And this is not something that was brought up, but this is something that when you think about where the Titans are going on the football field with the product they're trying to put out there, and they're getting ready to go into this new stadium here in 3 years. When you look at them talking about an emphasis of team speed, that's not just talk, because when you go inside and you play in a dome stadium, you have to use speed and the lack of elements to your advantage. You got to have guys who can make plays. That is your opportunity to put up points, throw the football, and design your team to fit that type of structure. Now, that's talked about a lot more in baseball, like with, if you play for the Yankees, they want you to be a left-handed power hitter and things like that. But it's true in football to a certain degree because of things like that you want a track team for indoors. You don't necessarily want a track team in Green Bay or Buffalo all the time, but you definitely want one if you're an indoor type of team.
Well, this is going to completely change the dynamic of Tennessee Titans football. I really feel like, and part of even the turf from last year, I think, impacted the way that the Titans played football in December and into obviously the late games of the season. So I'll be curious, man, how this plays out. Clearly, the city is on the rise, though, as far as getting this world-class facility. Certainly expecting more than just the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, when you joke about Garth Brooks's comment, but at the same time, this is not just a Tennessee Titans facility. I mean, you're talking about potential college football playoff.
WrestleMania is coming.
Yeah, they're talking about everything from WrestleMania to monster trucks to Final Fours and Super Bowls. I mean, you're exactly right. This is, I think, probably the reason, and I don't want to get political here, but this is, the price tag on this thing was a little over $2 billion. And I think that the additional revenue streams that can come from events beyond just Titans regular season games and a few concerts, I think that's probably what enticed the city of Nashville and the state of Tennessee to kick in funds to this, knowing what the revenue of a Super Bowl, a Final Four, college football playoff, or a WrestleMania event would bring to this city.
Well, considering the Atlanta Braves reported $600 million last year from, so I'm just saying. I'm just saying. That's all I'm going to say. So I like this picture you've got, Terry, of the two head coaches of the primary tenants of Nissan Stadium, Eddie George and Brian Callahan, both Tennessee State and Tennessee Titans. That's an interesting.
I don't guess you asked Eddie George about the recent vacancy on his coaching staff, did you?
Oh.
No, I did not. I did not get a chance to chat with Eddie today.
That's unfortunate.
I got to chat with Kevin Dyson and Brett Kern, but I didn't get a chance to go up and see Eddie. Eddie's still Eddie. He's still going to draw a crowd wherever he goes, so I couldn't quite make my way through to get over to him. Eddie could run for governor probably of this state if he wanted to.
Dr. Dyson playing hooky.
Yeah. I bet if he's there tonight, holler and tell him.
Yeah, well, I won't be
you
there.
Won't be there,
yet, but yeah, Centennial Principal, Dr. Kevin Dyson that you were referring to there. But yeah, Terry, what any more non-stadium related developments with the Titans that we need to discuss as the combine continues in Indianapolis?
Yeah, it's interesting. Rand Carthon spoke with him briefly and spoke with Chad Brinker briefly. Brian Callahan was also here. It's a matter of this. They flew in from Indianapolis to be here, and they were able to squeeze in some more interviews this morning before they left. Then, of course, they're going to have assistant coaches and scouts and people still up there continuing that process on through Saturday or Sunday as more and more prospects come through to be evaluated.
Terry, it's always fun, man. We'll get to you again soon and look forward to more conversations about the Tennessee Titans.
All right, we'll do it again tomorrow.
Tell us about Zen Sports, Terry.
All right.
Let's talk about Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee that's bringing sports betting to a whole new level, literally with their new boosted same-game parlays. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to a $1,000 no danger first wager. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $1,000. And now Zen Sports is offering 10 boosted same-game parlays for NBA and NHL every single day. That's 10 bets, each with a 10% boost, and you can bet on every single one of them. And there's even more good news. Zen Sports offers a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. If you qualify, you'll earn monthly comps at sporting events, concerts, you name it, even sportsbook bonuses. The VIP program is by invite only, so if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. So what are you waiting for? The daily same-game parlay boosts go quick, so get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. No danger of first wager. Limited to plus 500 odds to qualify. Boosted odds are derived from equivalent parlay bets offered in Tennessee. Must be 21 and older and in Tennessee to bet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Your favorite wine tasting experience is back. The Hendersonville Rotary Club's Wine and Roses Fundraising Gala. Everything you loved and more. Saturday, March the 2nd. Prepare your taste buds for elegant wines, smooth whiskeys, craft beers, and exceptional food. Browse through the silent auction, all to benefit over 25 local charities, schools, and scholarships. Wine and Roses, Saturday, March the 2nd at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, Hendersonville. HendersonvilleRotary.org.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chris Yao, Maurice Patton, and we are now joined by CBSSports.com bracketologist Jerry Palm, as we have been each of the last few Thursdays and will continue to through Selection Sunday. Jerry, good afternoon.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well, man. Looks like a new number one seed emerged since we last spoke. I think North Carolina and Arizona swapped places, I guess. Is that right? Is that since last time?
Yeah, it's been about a week, so it could be. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was exactly, when we spoke last Thursday, if Carolina had already been there or not, but it's been about that long. So, yeah, it's possible that it happened afterwards. When Arizona lost to Washington State, that's when it changed.
Okay, which was a game you warned us about on this show last week, that they were getting ready to play that Thursday night. So yeah, expecting any more moves?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the top three are going to move. I mean, they might move amongst each other, but they're not moving anywhere else. The Purdue, UConn, Houston have created such a gap between them and the rest of basketball that they could each lose twice and still be the top three teams in the bracket. And they might even be able to lose more than that and still be the top three teams in the bracket. So that gap is pretty strong. But, Carolina, Arizona, Tennessee, Marquette, all I think have a chance to challenge for that one seed. And, Tennessee might actually be in the best position because of their remaining schedule. They picked up a big win last night over Auburn. They have, I think, 3 quad one games left in the regular season, plus their conference tournament is probably going to give them chances to even more. So if they were to win all the way out, they'd have a chance to actually pass Arizona, who's not the only quad one game they have is in their league is them. And then North Carolina only has a couple other teams in their league that could be quad one. So Tennessee, because of their schedule, I mean, it's a daunting schedule, and, navigating it won't be easy. But if they do manage to do it, I think Tennessee could jump past even Arizona and North Carolina if they continue to win.
Let me ask you, Jerry, do you feel like Tennessee kind of controls its own destiny as far as that goes, or would it take, a loss by North Carolina or somebody to actually open that fourth number one spot up?
I don't know that it would take a loss. It certainly wouldn't hurt. We're 3 weeks away. I don't want to go so far, and we don't even know who each team is playing in their conference tournament yet. So I don't want to say it's in Tennessee's total control, but their schedule, I think, gives them a real good opportunity to try and make that move.
Jerry Palm, CBS Sports bracketologist, here with us today. Now, Jerry, there are a lot of really important games tonight. You mentioned that Arizona, the only quad one opponent in their league is them, but Washington State has been very, very good this year. Could potentially just about lock up a spot with a win tonight, couldn't they?
Yeah, and Washington State certainly on a neutral court or on the road would be quad one for other teams. They're not high enough in the rankings to be quad one anywhere. But, Washington State, the problem for Washington State is their strength of schedule is not very good. Obviously, they beat Arizona twice, which is great. But they've got left on their schedule both LA schools at home. Those are quad three games. Washington at home, the quad two game. They're probably going to get quad three games at least early in their conference tournament. Yeah, you start losing all those games, and now you're in trouble. So I'm not comfortable. I don't throw the word lock around like other people do. I just don't.
Sure.
Well,
nobody's a lock because
if you lose all your games and you're still comfortably in the tournament, then I call you a lock. I've got maybe 17 or 18 of them. That number will grow probably by the end of next week for sure, if not sooner. But I don't throw that word lock around pretty easily.
Well, and staying out on the West Coast, a team who has been a lock in the tournament for the better part of 2 decades, Gonzaga, is that they've got some work to do alongside their conference, St. Mary's. You know, is this a conference that can get 2 bids if there's a bid stealer?
Well, it might be that Gonzaga's the bid stealer.
Yeah.
You know, it's been that kind of a season for them. They've got a win over Kentucky at Kentucky and not much else.
And that win looks better and better. Does that win look better at this point than it did?
Sure, but if that's all you got, it's still not enough. You got to have more than one win. They played several good teams, lost to all of the others. They lost to Santa Clara, which is a quad 2 loss. They have 3 quad 1 and 2 wins, 3 total. And that's a very low number for a team that hopes to make the NCAA tournament. Even Dayton, who, you know, is playing in the A10, doesn't have the big non-conference win. They've got 3 quad 1 wins by themselves. So Gonzaga's at San Francisco, not in their home building, but at the Chase Center where the Warriors play, but it's still a home game for San Francisco. So that could be quad 1. And then St. Mary's at St. Mary's obviously would be quad 1. But if they don't have, I mean, really, if all they have at the end of the regular season, as far as wins over teams that are probably going to be in the tournament, if they just have Kentucky, they're probably not going to make it. And that means most likely 3 losses to St. Mary's. I don't think 2 wins over San Francisco is going to do much to prevent them from being left out.
I'm telling you, this has been the most wide open season in the history of college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, there's been more parity this year. It feels like, anyway. I mean, you can tell me, Jerry, if we're wrong, but it feels like there's been more parity and more teams winning games or winning matchups that you would not have expected them to than we've seen in recent memory.
Yeah, I think that the surprising part about it is that you've had, AP top 10 teams on the road losing at a unprecedented clip to unranked teams on the road. But life's always tough on the road. But usually those teams are able to take care of business, and this year it has been a real struggle for them, at relatively speaking, struggle for those teams to win on the road against lesser foes. So, I mean, Purdue's got all three of Purdue's losses were to unranked teams at the time on the road. Now Ohio State hasn't been in the rankings, but Northwestern has been in and out. And I think Nebraska made a brief appearance as well. But yeah, it's just been that's been weird. But I don't know about parity throughout the bracket. I mean, we've got 3 near locks for number 1 seeds. And 3 weeks to go, 2.5 to Selection Sunday. I don't remember last time that happened, where we were so clear on the top line, this clear on the top line of the bracket, this far away from Selection Sunday. Obviously, the 4th spot's still up for grabs. But to have, I mean, last year, I remember, you know, it was all the way down to the conference tournaments where even maybe the overall number 1 wasn't set. So I think there's parity, yes, but you see it in pockets, but I don't know if it's all the way up and down the bracket.
Yeah, you know, it's after those 18 locks that things get haywire. I mean, you know, those top 15 or 20 teams, yeah, they're supposed to win. Everybody else could beat anybody on any given night, and that's what's nuts about this season. And I'm curious what has brought that on in the last couple of years. I don't think we've seen that in the regular season as much, and I don't know if it's transfer portal, if it's NIL, if it's a combination of both or whatever, but it has to make your job a lot harder when everybody outside of those seems more equal.
Actually, it doesn't feel any different to me this year than it does any other year, other than the strength at the very top. You know, the teams that are on the bubble have the same kinds of problems that they always have.
Mm-hmm.
Not every team has the same problem, of course. There are different problems you could have that put you down in that part of the bracket, but those problems are the same as they are every other year.
Are there more of them?
No, well, no, not really. I mean, we're still, like I said, 2.5 weeks from Selection Sunday. This has a way of working itself out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's that much different, this far away from Selection Sunday than it is in most years for the bottom half of the bracket.
Now, being where we're at in Tennessee and being who I am and where I'm from in the Birmingham area, I do have a really less vested, but I do have an interest a little bit in the AAC and where they stand as a conference. I mean, this a couple of years ago was a very, a vaunted conference in basketball. Where do they stand right now as far as, how many bids they could possibly see and clearly Memphis is squarely on the bubble. So
yeah, I don't even have them on the bubble yet.
Wow.
Memphis played themselves off the bubble. They've strung a few wins together, beat Florida Atlantic, so that obviously helps. But they really did a lot of damage to their profile with that 4-game losing streak. Not because it was a 4-game losing streak, but because of who they lost to in that 4-game losing streak. It's a long climb still for Memphis to try and make the NCAA tournament as an at-large. Florida Atlantic is in an 8-9 game in my bracket, so that makes them really not a full sure thing. South Florida's in my bracket as the conference leader, but they're not an at-large team. They have to win the conference to get in. So the depth of this league this year is not as strong as we've seen in the past. But, to be fair, some of the better teams left for the Big 12, especially Houston. And that makes a big difference. The teams that they replaced Houston with are not of the same quality that Houston was.
Jerry Palm, CBS Sports bracketologist, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Jerry, I don't remember if this was a question that we asked you last week or if it's something we asked somebody else. So my apologies for the potential redundancy here. Saturday night in Tuscaloosa, a bigger game for Alabama or Tennessee?
I would say bigger for Tennessee because they're trying to chase a number 1 seed. They don't have to beat Alabama at Alabama to be a number 1 seed. But I think the number 1 seed is out of reach realistically for Alabama. So I would say a bigger game for Tennessee.
Alabama doesn't want to lose that one after
the way they got beat in Knoxville,
or in Auburn, and they were in that 3, potentially maybe even a 2 seed if they had beaten Auburn, Tennessee, getting drilled at Kentucky. I mean,
they still could be a 2 seed,
right? But they were on a rise,
on an upward trajectory,
and now that has certainly leveled, if not taken a dip down. So, but a win against Tennessee at home would obviously be huge for them. So they
got a good one. Was it last time out, or am I thinking of someone else?
No, they won. Who'd they beat last night? They beat Ole Miss last night.
Ole Miss last night.
Yeah, that's right. That really hurt Ole Miss, but that's a good win. Not a great win, but a good win for Alabama. It's always good to win on the road,
especially in Southeastern Conference. Has the SEC really kind of upped its basketball resume this year over other years?
Yeah,
South Carolina, etc.
It's deeper this year. I don't know if they're going to put like 7, 8, maybe 9 in. I'm thinking that number is probably more likely 7 or 8 than 9, but really good year, good depth in the league, good strong teams at the top, multiple strong teams at the top. Good year for the SEC in the regular season for sure.
Great. Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, joining us and will continue to do so on Thursdays up through Selection Sunday. Jerry, appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Good to talk to you.
You too. Thanks. When we come back on Main Street Sports today, well, I'm not sure what we're going to talk about here in this last segment, to be honest, because, scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do, there's something out there that he and I haven't even talked about. So we're going to get our heads together here during this break and figure out what we're going to give y'all over the last 20 minutes or so. So come on back and see what it is. I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports Today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros. Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that Eli's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No. No.
Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's just
you got that right, and
that's bottom line.
Be a buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So
I think the fanny pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It did. It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football. There's a baseball. Maybe it's not a puck. How about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Welcome back to the final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And as we mentioned at the end of the last segment, we didn't know what we were going to talk to you about, but one thing we do want to talk about, it has come out here in the last 15 minutes, sounds like. Caitlin Clark will be taking her talents away from Iowa City, at least, probably to Indianapolis.
And after the last time she was in Indiana, I'm not sure.
Not sure how well that's going to be received. Well, you'd rather have her playing for you than against you, I guess. But yeah,
they beat her.
The Indiana Fever has the first pick in the 2024 WNBA draft. Caitlin Clark is available.
Well,
connect the dots. That's CONNECT, by the way.
Yeah, no. I mean, Angel Reese is also available. I would think, or is she a junior?
I believe she's a senior, but and does it matter who else is available?
Well, I
if
think
Caitlin
it could.
Clark is available.
I mean, I don't pretend to know the Indiana Fever's roster to a degree that I would be able to tell you what they're going to think about doing in the WNBA draft. No. But I'm just saying.
I'm disappointed. I just think that with all the buzz around her, I don't think any WNBA team, whether it's the Indiana Fever or the Las Vegas Aces, if they had the chance to draft Caitlin Clark, I don't know that they could afford not to.
Yeah, you put her in there with Aaliyah Boston, and next thing you know,
ooh,
yeah,
you're cooking.
And they need it. I mean, they've not been very good for a while. And
probably since Stephanie White.
Yeah, it's been a minute since Indiana has been very good at the WNBA level. So you couple the fanfare and all of the things that go along with having her on your team, and the potential for your team to get exponentially better at the guard position. It's hard to say no to that, and so I'll be shocked if she is not the #1 overall pick. I do think.
Now we need to say that This is a conversation that we had briefly a couple of weeks ago, I guess, because she's declaring for the draft. She still has NCAA eligibility, and she could have come back and really put some numbers where nobody could reach them because of NCAA COVID-19 modifications, according to this article I'm looking at on the New York Post. So,
right. Yeah, she could have played one more year because her first year was 2020.
So she still has another year that she could play, and
foregoing that.
And as you were saying off air, it's almost a push financially.
It could be. I mean, obviously she's not going to make, I don't even know what the average WNBA salary is. I know it's six figures, but it's not high over 100.
But you got to wonder
and
what she's pulling down right now and what her potential would have been to make financially with another year in our city, Iowa.
Right, because to me, I think her value is higher in college at the women's college basketball level than at the WNBA level, because the majority of her initial NIL deals were probably local. They're much more national now. She does have the big deals, and it's probably not, and like we've said sometimes in contract negotiation, what's an extra $500,000 when you're talking about the numbers that they're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if the goal is to, elevate the women's game, I don't think there's a better time for her, Angel Reese, and some of these other players to get to the WNBA.
Rickea
Jackson. Who's the girl at South Carolina?
They got one coming out?
Yeah, and I can't think of her name. But there are 4 or 5 players right now who can really lift
the league,
the WNBA to a higher level, and that, if your goal is to grow the game and to give future women's basketball players the ability to play at a professional level by helping elongate the league, then I guess it's a great move. Now, I don't know what her goal is, but I certainly think this is going to be a byproduct of that. The WNBA is going to be a more valuable commodity because Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Rickea Jackson and those type players are in it. And now Paige Beckers will not be.
If the WNBA can build on it, because you remember a couple of years ago when, you had such a great women's college basketball season, and last year when you had such a great college basketball season, and the WNBA has not necessarily been able to
capitalize.
Yeah, thank you. That's the word.
Well, one of the reasons they weren't able to capitalize on last year's success is because both of the players who were the biggest part of that success are still playing college basketball. And that's Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. So that had a lot to do with it. But going into this it's now or never for the WNBA. And here's the bad part. The bad part is that the NBA is not doing a good job of promotion, of finding ways to get people to pay attention to the NBA. It is struggling in viewership. It's struggling in a lot of different directions. And the NBA runs the WNBA. It's part of it. And so they've got to figure out how to change the dynamic of the women's game. And, to me, it's visibility. I promise.
Now, how do you fix that?
Well, you don't put games on Amazon Prime and CW.
That's easier said than done, though, because
Is it?
nobody. Well, folks aren't, for whatever reason, knocking the WNBA's doors down, are they?
Well, let's put it this way: the UFL USFL, XFL, they were getting about 1 million views on a game. That's far more than WNBA games are getting. Why? They're on Fox. They're on ABC. They're on ESPN. And WNBA isn't getting those time slots because the NBA does. Well, I hate to tell you, but I would like to see it. I would like to see what the numbers looked like. NBA versus WNBA on ABC versus Fox or whatever, CBS.
I'm not sure the NBA wants you to see those
That's
numbers.
what I'm saying. To me, it feels like the NBA is almost suppressing. So, I don't know. That's just that's kind of the way it feels.
Wow. It's an interesting concept, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and argue otherwise with you. But if the NBA is sabotaging the WNBA, then...
And whether it means to or not, really. Because
I mean,
they're not...
Intent doesn't really matter, though, does it?
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
because they're not going to forego let's say, the Bulls and the Mavericks for, LA
the Fever and the
New
Mystics.
York, or certainly the Fever and Mystics. I mean, they're not going to forego that based off of history. But if Angel Reese plays for the Mystics and Caitlin Clark's playing for the Fever, and you've got the ability to put them on ABC versus
Peacock
Prime or whatever,
else, yeah.
And you choose not to, then you've made a mistake. Period. I will be curious to see what the crowds look like in Indiana. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well,
because she is one of those players that you love to hate when she's playing against you, but you love her if she's on your team.
Well, and
very much like the baseball player from Tennessee that Mike Honcho.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
It's interesting to me that, Caitlin Clark is a Big Ten legend. She's going to be right there in the middle of Big Ten country in Indiana. Wonder what kind of impact that has, like you said, on the stands, on gear, that kind of thing. So it's intriguing.
No doubt.
SEC men's basketball tournament is right around the corner.
Yes, it is.
In 2 weeks, we will be in full swing at Bridgestone Arena. And the conference has announced its 2024 legends. We aren't getting any sponsorship money, so I don't have to say presented by Allstate, do I?
No, I don't guess so.
Okay. Tell us about Alabama's legend, because I did not know this until you were telling me.
Richard Hendricks, the former big man for Alabama, played his high school ball just south of our friends in Giles County in Athens, Alabama. He was just ahead of Giddy. But at first team All-SEC selection in 2008. He was also the 2005 Mr. Basketball in Alabama, where there is but one Mr. Basketball.
Not nine?
He was 5A Player of the Year.
But he was
and
Mr.
Basketball.
You know what? That's interesting. That's a concept. So you have a Player of the Year for each class, and then you have one
Mr. Basketball.
Mr. Basketball.
Like Gatorade Player of the Year. You only have one Gatorade Player of the Year.
I like that.
That's the way it should be. If you're Mr. Basketball, there should be but one.
Yeah. As opposed to, I'm Mr. Basketball. Well, I'm Mr. Basketball too.
Exactly. That's not how it works.
Wait a minute.
So
that guy said he's Mr. Basketball.
And there's 4 others because there's what?
Nice.
6.
There are 4. Yes, 6.
6 Mr. Basketballs, 9 Mr. Footballs. But yeah. So anyway, that's neither here nor there.
No, that is. I mean, that's very intriguing to me.
That's the way it works. But
it's just one of many things y'all do better, right?
Particularly in basketball. But that's again a whole other can of worms. But yeah, he was at Athens when I was in school, and just you go to he was I think he played in the state tournament the same year that we saw Parker and John Carroll play with 2 future NBA players. Hendricks played 13 years in the NBA. It was a massive state finals. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. He was obviously as good as anybody in the history of Alabama high school basketball. How about friend of the show? How about friend of the show?
Yeah. A little closer to home, Chris Lofton is the Tennessee legend, man who needs no introduction.
None.
Frank Secker will represent Vanderbilt in that capacity. Torian Green, who was on those 2006-2007 Florida national championship teams, was the Gators legend. And
I hated that guy.
You know what?
You know who else probably hated him? Chris Lofton. But they had some battles.
Yeah, I kind of low-key enjoyed that Florida team. I mean, as much as you could as a fan of an SEC program that wasn't Florida. I just liked the way they played together, man. They really got up and down. They really lock you down defensively. They were just fun to watch, I thought.
Oh, they certainly were, unless they were playing
your team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, Cliff Ellis, is the Auburn legend. Be sure and go back and check that interview out that we had with him.
What might be the most intriguing introduction of the weekend is Mr. Orlando Tubby Smith when they announce his name during the Kentucky halftime.
It'll be interesting to see what the reaction is. I hope Kentucky fans show some class.
I think they didn't realize what they had till he was gone.
You know what? I think as it relates to Tubby Smith, Kentucky might not be the only one saying that.
Speaking of teams that's played their way off the bowl. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so anyway.
10 years at Kentucky, 1 national championship his first season. 5 SEC championships, 5 tournament championships. Won 76% of his games at Kentucky while taking on a schedule, quote, annually ranked among the nation's toughest. National Coach of the Year 3 times, SEC Coach of the Year 3 times. Yeah. Tubby Smith.
Other team members, Derek Hood from Arkansas, who was part of those great Nolan Richardson teams. Rashad Wright down at Georgia. And if you know anything about the SEC tournament and Rashad White, go back and watch that. Daryl Mitchell from LSU, Dwayne Curtis of Ole Miss, Timmy Bowers from Mississippi State from 03-04, Willie Smith at Missouri, Joe Rett from South Carolina, Elston Turner from A&M, round out the legends.
Now that's Elston Turner Jr. as opposed to Elston Turner Sr., who is from Knoxville and played at Ole Miss. Just so. That's going to do it here on Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by...
I heard it, but it's okay.
Presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia.
Kentucky.
Kentucky, yeah. Tennessee, yeah. It's time to go. Be sure and come back with us tomorrow. Who do we have?
Chris?
Yes. Come back tomorrow, see who we got.
Chris Childers and Christopher Gabriel.
There we go. It's a Chris kind of day. We'll see you tomorrow.